Hello and welcome to Christian Book Review. I'm Lucas Kitchen. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and click the little button that gives you notifications. By the way, you can find more content like this on freegrace.in. You can find this entire write-up review that I've got on freegrace.in/story-peddler. Story-peddler after the slash, freegrace.in. Where you can see the cover here for the Story Peddler. And I just have to say, we really liked this one. This one we listened to as a family and we really enjoyed it. In fact, there was a moment early in this story where we were listening, we were in the car, and my wife sort of leaned over, because the kids were listening too, my wife leaned over and said, "I like this one." And you know, what she's basically saying is, I listened to a lot of weird books, and, you know, this is one she really liked. But I was feeling the same thing at that moment, and it was because of a particular aspect of this story that I've never heard in any other story. So, let's get into it. Let's talk about The Story Peddler by Lindsay A. Franklin. The title, The Story Peddler, The Weaver Trilogy, Book 1 by Lindsay A. Franklin. Now, aspects, this is in some ways a magical realm fantasy. It fits into that genre. It's ideal reader age. I would say young adult, but I put adult as well because we all listened to it and I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. It was clever. It was inventive. The magic system was really interesting. So it can be listened to by any or read. Ideal reader's gender, either. I liked it. My wife liked it. My kids liked it. It's good for any reader, I think. It's very family friendly. There's a little bit of action in it, but there's nothing gratuitous. There's no profanity. It's just a good, clean story that your whole family can enjoy. Christian themes, I would call the Christian themes in this subtle. They are present in a small amount. This is a trilogy so far. I don't know if she's going to write more than 3, but I suspect they're developed more in the next stories. So it seemed to me that it was kind of a worldview paradigm shift going on here, where the main character is coming from one concept and coming into another as she meets new people. So there's some subtle themes. It doesn't have a direct, gospel presentation or anything like that. So it's subtle. So here is my endorsement. The book opens with a fantastic concept I've never encountered, which blossoms into a robust magic system that is as unique as it is fun. The characters moved the story forward in a charming yet urgent way. The entire age range of our family enjoyed listening to the audiobook version, 5 years old to 39 years old. My middle son who was listening was 5 years old, and I'm 39. This book gets my full endorsement for families and individual readers. So let's take a look at the publisher's description. Here's what they say about the book. Tanwen doesn't just tell stories. She weaves them into crystallized sculptures that sell for more than a few bits. But the only way to escape the control of her cruel mentor and claw her way from poverty is to set her sights on something grander, becoming Royal Storyteller to the king. During her final story peddling tour, a tale of treason spills from her hands, threatening the king himself. Tanwen goes from peddler to prey as the king's guard hunts her down, and they're not known for their mercy. As Tanwen flees for her life, she unearths long-buried secrets and discovers she's not the only outlaw in the empire. There's a rebel group of weavers, and they're after her too. Yes. Very good. It has lots of those elements that you love from fantasy, but it's got a few things that are unique that I haven't seen before. So let's talk a little bit about the aspects in this story. It has good dialogue. It's not overbearing on the inner monologue. It's got a good balance of narrative and inner monologue. It is an ensemble story in that there are moments where the main character has to do things on her own, but a lot of it she's with friends. So if you like ensemble stories, you'll probably like this. There is a romantic element. In fact, there feels like there's developing more than just one romantic possibility, and so there's going to be some conflict there, it feels like, kind of traditional for young adult books. As if every young adult has so many prospects relationally and romantically. I know that for me, That wasn't the case, but you see it in young adult books. Those kinds of interesting triangles. So the mood was humorous. There's a fair. Now I wouldn't say there's like a bunch of setup punchline format jokes or anything, but it's kind of humorous and it's playful, and even though there's cause, like here's one thing that was interesting to me. It deals lightly with very, very lightly with some social justice issues. It is not a social justice book. Don't misread me there. But there's characters who are discriminated for their race. There's a character who's abused by kind of a parental figure, and yet the story is still playful, it's still humorous, and so it's dealt with, those things are dealt with in a respectful way, but they're not overbearing. They're not the point of the story. They're just kind of like texture for the world, and I think I think it was a good move to not go all in on that. So way to go on that, Lindsay. I don't know Lindsay. I'm talking to you, Lindsay, like I know you. I don't know you, but I think that was well done. The hero needed cleverness, strength too, but cleverness was kind of the needed aspect mostly. How does the hero respond to challenges? The hero's unruly. She's kind of an outcast. She kind of does her own thing, and she's unruly. She does have some principles, but she's unruly, and that's kind of fun, the way that she deals with stuff. The hero is reactive. Deliberate in places, but since she's learning about her world, she tends to be pretty reactive. The description leans towards sparing, which I liked in this context. So there was enough to give you a sense of the world. There was enough to give you a sense of like the king's court and the inner workings, but it was sparing enough that it didn't drown you in extraneous details. The language of the book, the prose was very natural, so it was easy to read. The exposition was fairly restrained, wasn't overdone. The plot was speculative, especially, my favorite parts are the obvious parts, which is what the story is predicated on. These story strands. I don't want to ruin anything, but it's early in the story that you'll and as soon as I started hearing about story strands and some of the other magical options in the world, I was like, yeah, this is cool. This is fun. I mean, it was like, there's authors out there that write books and they don't have to have some clever thing. They're just really good writers. Lindsay Franklin is a good writer. From what I see in this book, she's a good writer, but she also can spot a really good concept, because the concept in this was really fun. It just was a really exciting, I don't know. We just really liked it. It was a really neat thing, and it was unique. I don't know of another story that uses something quite like it. How intricate is the plot? A little bit complex, but easy to follow. So no problem there. The pacing, there was some real urgency. There were some moments in it where the character has to escape, and that made for a fun ride. There is some political, as far as the scope goes. There's some political that is dealt with, but it's kind of it's politics light, and it's royal court politics, but it's politics light. It's still good for a young adult audience. How much ground is covered? Actually, this story covers quite a bit of ground, as the main character thinks she's going one place, then she's sort of nabbed and she goes somewhere else, and she discovers this place, and then she discovers that place. There's lots of traveling, and so it's quite an odyssey in this story. There's definitely a sense of teamwork in the story. It's not just the hero by herself. The stakes, now I put the stakes at individualistic in the sense that the main character has a lot at stake. She is in danger, and so there are some cosmic issues at play, but mostly it's individualistic. She's the one that's in danger, and people like her. I guess I should say that. What is she? What if the hero doesn't win? Annihilation. At least for her, would be annihilation, and for her, I'll call it kind of group, her group of like-minded and similar people. So the Story Peddler, I'm in favor of. I think this is a great book for young adult audience, but adults will like it, middle grade will like it. It might be a little difficult for some of the lower grades and the middle grade bracket to read, but if you've got it in an audiobook, my preschool son still liked certain things about it. It was maybe a little over his head. He's 5 years old. It was a little over his head, but 6, 7-year-old, no problem as far as the audiobook. So that is The Story Peddler by Lindsay A. Franklin. I just want to say thank you, Lindsay A. Franklin, for making such a fun book. I look forward to the next books in this series. Let me remind you, the viewer, if you want to get this book, you can get it at Amazon.com. And other booksellers of your choice. You can find this full write-up at freegrace.in/story-peddler, so you can see what all I have to say about it. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.